Okay, so I was out on the job yesterday with this John Deere skid steer, and it just started puking hydraulic fluid everywhere, and it's all over the pump and all down in the case. It pumped out about 2 gallons of hydraulic fluid, so it's got a hole somewhere. I think it's coming from underneath the foot pedals, but it's also got a puddle standing on top of the pump like the spools have been leaking. So I'm going to have to get into it. I'm going to pressure wash it first. I came back home and got the mini excavator, and it quit on me. It wouldn't start back. So I finally got it back started. I guess I'll take this thing apart a little bit and take the pressure washer to it and see if we can find the leak. Well, we got it washed out and took apart. Got the floor pan out of it. A lot of cow poop. And I can't see. I want to spray it off real good. I see a broken wire down there. Well, that's just a marker where somebody set the lines off. I did find some mystery parts though. I'm curious, this block, this spring, and of course I know that's in the machine, the park switch. This one must have fell off and they replaced it. It's down in the guts of it. This has got me curious. It looks important. I don't know if it would have anything to do with why I've got a leak. I don't see no lines rubbed through. I did split my brains out on this lid a while ago, like I always do. I'm afraid that it's coming from the pump. It looked like yesterday it was coming from these spools under here, and it was running down and puddling up on top of the pump. This has got, of course, this John Deere has a Yanmar engine. I didn't think it was a turbo. If it is, that's awful. A little tiny little turbo. It's got grease all over it. Something's been leaking there. The previous owner said those 2 drive motors were replaced, so you know, there might be some case drains or something like that that's loose. Where they replaced it might be a line or 2 loose. I don't see nothing that looks like it's even rubbing or interfering, but can't really tell till I get some fluid flowing through it again. And I can't really start it because I don't have enough fluid in it. Well, I got enough. It's at the bottom mark. I'm gonna blow this thing out with the air hose. And it's odd that pump's got a number wrote on it, 2953. Almost like it's been replaced before. The 2 drives, they've at least been out because somebody's got little wire ties on them marking the colors when they put them back together. But definitely a lot of grease in here. It was standing full of oil, so you couldn't tell where it was coming from. It could be one of any number of things. Be a good opportunity to get all this stuff greased anyway. I don't see anything in this machine that looks like that little block. That mystery block. Unless it's a spacer for something. But this hole right here was standing plumb full of oil yesterday. So it made me think it was coming out of these spools here. So there's 2 spools. There's the front one. the back one, those drives your forward and reverse. And then you got your foot pedal that has its own valve body and got its own lines running off the, I guess, the secondary pump. You got another little pump down here that runs that. This thing has plenty of power, no question about that. Be such a small little machine. I bet you those blocks goes underneath those lines somewhere on the bottom, because there's another similar block right there. I've got to figure out exactly where that block goes. I've got another thing right there that's leaking. That's a, I don't know if you can see it, right there is a remote for the oil filter. It just plugs into that little block, then goes to the back, and it's definitely leaking oil right there. It may just be a loose line, it could be anything. I'll try to fix that while I'm inside the guts of this thing today. First thing I want to do is get it cleaned up and blow all the water out of it. You don't want to blow air directly on these plugs, because you'll just force water into the plug. So you might blow around them, but don't blow directly onto them. Get this thing blowed out, then we'll go a little bit. Well, I think we dodged a bullet. I started it up. That fitting right there, this fitting was finger tight. And like I said, the previous owner had the motors replaced, the hydraulic motor, drive motors. So I checked those fittings first. I started up and you could see the fluid under it. It started running out of there pretty good. And I put a lot of pressure on it. Yesterday I was trying to dig a stump out, and I was putting tons of pressure. If you look at the bottom of the cab, oil's been spraying under the bottom of the cab, which probably explained why it was on top of this pump. So I may not have spools leaking after all. The pump actually looks new. I mean, it's got numbers written on it. This thing, I think, is a 2016, but it's got 2018 drive motors on it, and the pump may be a later model too. The pump looks newer than anything else. So let's hope. And I want to start it up again and put some pressure on it and see if I can get it to leak anymore. I'm assuming that it was spraying out of that connector on that drive motor, spraying upwards and getting all over everything. But I'm only guessing, because there was oil all down in this front. There was oil every time I would back up the hill, it would run out the bottom. So let's hope that I've got it. I don't know what I'm going to do about the oil remote reservoir issue right now. I'm going to check those fittings if I can get a wrench down in there to them and see if they're finger tight too. Who knows? That remote oil cap or oil filter thing may have been added later. But I'm going to dig around in a little bit and shut the cab down and start it up and see if I can make it put any more fluid out. Well, I believe that did it. I did have to take the fitting back off. That fitting right there. Those kind of fittings have O-rings in them. Let me show you the O-ring. I'm about to lose my voice. You know, this was what was inside. It was just nothing. It blew out. And I tried these little fat ones that I've got for hydraulics, and nothing fit in there. I had some of these Boona N nitrile rings. These are supposed to be up to like 3,000 pounds and not deteriorate with hydraulic fluid or diesel fuel. But I do have, I mean, I've got different kinds. I've got specialty hydraulic rings, different ones. I don't think I have any rubber ones. You don't need to use rubber on anything. Diesel fuel and hydraulic fluid just melts rubber. But this nitrile, Boona N or something they call it, Boona nitrile, I never did figure out where this block went, or this spring. I'm guessing that they've had to work on something and this stuff just fell down into the abyss, and they, instead of retrieving it, they just replaced it or left it out. Who knows? I'm going to run this a little bit more. I may put the floorboard in it, take it for a drive around the yard. Actually, I can't. I need to wait till I get some more fluid. It really needs to be topped off. It's just below the minimum line, which I'm sure it has enough fluid in it to drive around. And I hope that spraying everywhere was the issue. And because, I mean, it's really, I didn't notice it, but I'd say the last 2 pulls that I did, it was leaking. I just didn't notice it because of the dirt. But there was a lot of fluid in here, and I put 2 gallon in it yesterday, a little over 2 gallon. It didn't even top it off. I got this thing tore down pretty good. I can see everything in it. There's another bolt. That's probably the bolt out of that block. Where does it go? There's something rattling around in here somewhere, I'm sure, because it doesn't have that block supporting it. But I guess it'll have to fall off first. Ooh, it's wet. But there's the stupid, what they call that, DPF, diesel particulate filter. Air filter's easy to get to. Oil filter, see, the oil filter's got this remote reservoir, and it connects way back up in there, and it's been wet. But it's possible that drip we've been getting, well, I've been putting motor oil in it, though. It's definitely leaking motor oil too. But it's going to have to take a deeper dive to get into that motor oil. So here's another bolt. I bet you this goes to that block. Ew, that's so nasty. Poop and oil. Cow poop. So much fun. But I'm going to go in and eat supper, throw this thing back together, and tool it around the yard a little bit. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. This is a little short video. I thought it was going to be a lot deeper. I thought I was going to have to really dig into this pump. And I may just leave these covers off till tomorrow until I get it topped off with fluid, and then drive it around. If anything changes, I'll come back. Let's just wait till tomorrow. Let's do the final drive, and then we'll come back to the video. You guys can hang out with me then. I'll see you guys in a few minutes, which will be tomorrow to me. Okay. It's another day. I got it topped off with hydraulic fluid. I put a little paint on the rusty parts. It was all rusty down here. I didn't grind or sand or anything. I just sprayed over the I ground the rust off, but I didn't do any paint work. Painted this little thing, sanded it off. It's supposed to have a John Deere decal, I think, here. And then I painted the floorboard and the pedals. So that should take care of all the rust on the bottom. That wasn't why I was doing this. One thing left that's really rusty is that, and then the mast on each side. I started sanding those, but I ain't painted them yet. I'll do that later when the season slows down a little. Now I think I've got the leak taken care of. I've run it a little bit, and hopefully that's going to take care of our problem on this machine. And tomorrow we'll pull that machine off the trailer and get started on it. It's going to have seals in the fuel injection system, I believe. And I'm just glad to have this thing sealed up. I've got the remote oil thing, I'm going to have to see how much it's going to leak, because I thought the leak was mainly coming from that, but it was coming from this pump, or this motor. So stay tuned, we'll see how much oil leaks at it. But I think I've got this thing wrapped up. It's yeller again, the bottom is anyway. And it's ready to go back to work. I'll probably be going back to work tomorrow with it. This is 4th of July today. Happy 4th to everybody. You may not see this on the 4th, but that's when we're finishing it. That's for unlatching this, I guess. Just trying to figure out how that worked. I guess you lower it down to that level, lower it down to here, and flip this pin out, and it pushes the safety latch in, and then that releases this down so it can catch. I don't know if it would work to raise it back up, but we'll find out. I'll put the cab down in a minute and drive it around, but that's all I've got for you guys on this little video. We was looking for a leak, got it clean. The biggest thing was getting this stupid thing clean. It was so nasty. I never did figure out. I figured out where the little spring I found went. It went to this thing here. Somebody's replaced it. I guess he just left it in the bottom of the machine. But I don't know where that little block goes. And if somebody knows, please comment. It's got 2 bolts. It doesn't have any holes in it. It's just a little aluminum block. I found both the bolts in the block, so I don't know where it goes. Probably underneath the engine somewhere. But that wraps this up. I thank you all for riding along. If you're subscribed, please subscribe. If you're not, that helps me out. It helps us get more content out there. We've got 2 bad cameras right now. I'm making do with the 2 I've got. I'm getting a GoPro here in a day or 2, so hopefully we'll get a little bit better quality video. The sound always goes out on this camera, and I dropped my other camera and busted it, so we're working with this junk one right now. But I'll see you guys in a few days. Thanks for watching. Stay clean, everybody.